Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tackle Productions. Today I am Bancroft being joined once again by Jimmy, Aaron, and like always, Fluff.
Yes, sir.
Yo, yo.
What's up, people?
And like always, there's buttons down below. Feel free to click them. They're there for a reason. But today's matchup is kind of a blast for Jimmy. He hasn't played Blue Baby in a long time, but he decided to bring it back out. I think this is like variant 17.2, but he went back to 7.4. It's some weird concoction. And we got Aaron bring out Gogeta. Now, we've seen Gogeta on the channel before, but Aaron changed it up a little bit with a different unison. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, so Aaron was spreading this deck out before the tournament, and I was taking a glance at like what he was running, trying to help him finish out the rest of the deck with the Gogeta cards he needed. And there's one particular card that I seen in the list, and I was like, that is going to be a problem if we get matched up. And lo and behold, we got matched up first round. So I was like so hesitant about this matchup because I knew I could deal with Gogeta. Gogeta is not a problem for Baby, but it's one specific unison that he runs, and we'll talk more about it, where it just gives Baby such a big trouble. I'm gonna let Aaron take over and talk about his Gogeta list, but I just want to say how much I hate the way Aaron takes his life, because he takes at the top row first, and it drives me crazy. Every single time he does it, I want to come across the table at him over it.
So in our matchup, actually, I was eating a bag of chips. Aaron's like, here, I'll start before you. I'm like, no, I go from the bottom row, man. What are you doing?
I'm the weird guy, I guess.
I think I'm going to start taking life from random, like, third on the top, second on the bottom, just to mess people off so they can't just look and see how many life I have.
I'll just call Judge on Fluff every time I play against him.
Look, all you got to do is count. They're spread out.
I don't know what you're talking about. So, Aaron, tell us about this really bad Gogeta deck.
Right, yeah. So it's, man, so Gogeta obviously just wants to do a couple of things. He wants to fuse, and then I was looking at, like, the 6-drop that, minus 20s, and I was thinking, man, how in the world does this deck win? So I was looking at the SS4 Broly, and it's like, okay, it's cute, but it's not like how do you get to the point where you can even like make that double strike like a big deal? And so I was kind of looking back at some of the old red Gogeta cards, and the 8-drop Gogeta from like Destroyer Kings, used to be one of my favorite decks back in the day. And so I thought, man, how can I maybe squeeze some of that stuff in? The 5-drop's a little clunky, and I don't want to tap out for that on 4 to fuse. And the 3-drop for this deck is just so much better because this deck really synergizes well with the unisons. But the 8-drop from Destroyer Kings just crits 2 life if your opponent doesn't have anything on board, which really works well with all the minusing that this deck wants to do. So that was the idea behind the deck. And so, I dropped this Piccolo here. The Piccolo unison is the card that Jimmy was alluding to. And the reason why is because anytime your opponent counters, the Piccolo unison just blows up a 15k, and so Baby obviously runs a lot of that, and so this was a tough matchup just from the jump. But that Piccolo being able to do a -2 and blow up one of your battle cards, and then be able to basically wipe the board based on the power of the card that you chump for yourself, just helps clear the board. And so I just put as much removal in here as possible, and it seemed to be okay. So yeah, for first time running it, I was pretty happy with it. I changed a few things, but red is good, man. It's just it does a lot of things really well.
Yeah, and so a lot of the big strengths for Baby is you gain advantage off of your opponent attacking. You build your board for cheap by letting your opponent burn attacks on you. And one of the strategies to beat Baby is just to blitz out so quickly that they run out of resources earlier. But if you don't kill on that turn, Baby has a massive clapback with all the cards that they played for, little to no energy on their turn, or on your turn. And that Piccolo unison is not once per turn. It's every single time you activate a counter, you KO a 15k. And a majority of my negates in my list, at least in this particular, the Janemba variant, a majority of the cards are 15Ks on board. So you basically get to go 1 for 1 off of, or well, not even 1 for 1. I burn a card from my hand, you just get to KO it, and I get no value off of it other than the negate.
Yeah,
so
it's nasty.
That one unison completely turns this matchup completely upside down. Just due to Gogeta doesn't have the ability to blitz out like other decks do. It has really big attacks, but it doesn't matter if I just say, no, you can't, I'm negating that. But now that you can thwart every single card in my deck, it's an issue. The Gohan's the only one that's really safe from it because he has Servant. It's a permanent skill, so he's 25,000 on the field. So he gets out of range for the Piccolo.
Yeah, and that was, I had played against Jimmy's build before, and that's why I decided to go ahead and try to burst out this 6-drop as fast as possible, because the 6-drop lets me burn a 20k, and I know that your deck runs this Janemba package, and the Janemba package, if able to kind of go off, is just a ton of value for you, along with all of the negates that you play. And I know that the Gohan, is rough for me to get around because of the discarding and the fact that he is a 25k, and so I figured, okay, I've got to burn this, to burn it down as fast as I can and get this 6-drop out, just desperately trying to set up for this 8-drop, because I know that the 8-drop Gogeta is the only way I'm going to win this game, because I know I'm never going to get it taxed through, and so that was the whole game plan here, was just draw as many cards as possible, and then the Vegeta that I used to fuse with there, that's in the drop, he looks for a Gogeta, but it only hits a 7-drop or less, I believe, and so I was, like I said, I was really desperately digging for this 8-drop as much as possible.
Also, it's disgusting being able to rip Baby Hatch off the top research with that leader.
Yeah,
Baby Hatch is such a ridiculous card.
Yeah, you picked that up, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Because after you see it, it's like, okay, you're just waiting. It's just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah. I think once you see Baby Hatch, unless you're playing yellow or a blue as well and have a counter in hand, you basically know that you're not going to win the game on the turn you think you're going to win the game on, because Baby Hatch exists.
Yeah.
But for my particular build of Baby right now, I'm running the Xeno Janemba package that utilizes this Toa card. She comes out for 1 when you activate Servant. She reveals the bottom card of the deck. If it's a Servant card, it's played with its skills negated, creating a skillless battle card for the 3-drop Janemba. So that really requires me to have cards on field to be able to utilize that. And since you KO everything, the Gohan is my only option. Because I can't stick a Bula. I can't stick any of the counters. It has to rely on that Gohan. And being able to pick it up is really nice because it gives me an option to use it again.
Yeah, which is really good against Red Gogeta, because you draw a lot of cards when you fuse, but you have to burn through so many resources to keep yourself safe, because you don't have a lot of, I don't run the King Vegeta negate that makes it to where you have to, that's free. I don't run a lot of negates other than Violent Rays and the Wolf Fangs, and so you playing that Gohan down and making me discard to swing, which I have to do to try to win, is so clutch, because you quickly run out of resources after you've fused and gotten everything on board.
The Gohan is so incredibly good, and I think it's even good in decks outside of Blue Baby. Even with its full cost, it's still a fantastic card.
Absolutely, I run it at a 2 or 3 of in almost every blue deck that I play.
There's some matchups where that card comes down and the turn ends. It's basically a 2-drop Baby Hatch. I played the Black Boo where you have to have no hand, and it's you just put Gohan out there. It's your turn's over. You can't attack anymore because you don't have the option to bottom deck a card. So it's been clutch in so many different matchups.
Yeah, at this point in the game, I'm looking across the table, and even with Baby only having a couple of energy open, it's so like just sitting across the table. It's so terrifying, like looking at this because I know that every single time I attack, something is coming down. And at this was a funny point. Like Jimmy's explained to me, like how the servant mechanic works, and I'm thinking, okay, I want to blow this Gohan up as I don't want it to get bounced again. So we had a little bit of a a little bit of a funny conversation here, but I like I said, every time you attack against Baby, it's like, okay, what is going to come down? I know he has Baby Hatch. Is Baby Hatch going to come down? And at this point, I do have the 8-drop Gogeta in hand, and like I said before, it's just like this desperate attempt to empty the field. I can't believe we just now stopped talking about this, and this is sped up. That's hilarious. So, but I was more interested, Jimmy, in your mindset here. Like, you look across the table at me with 4 open energy with the 6-drop on board. What are you thinking at this juncture of the game?
So, I don't know if it's just the cockiness that I have when playing Blue Baby, because I played so many games with it, and I feel that I'm very well seasoned with the deck. But I really am not scared at any point while playing Blue Baby. It's usually until the point where I have like 2 or 3 cards in hand where I'm starting to like kind of feel the pressure. So I'm not too worried about this right now. I am more worried about the Piccolo Unison. That's the only thing that's going through my head this entire time. I'm trying to play around that one card that I'm not really focused on anything else going on in this current match. I wasn't even thinking about the 8-drop Gogeta that burns. Like, that wasn't even a thing going through my head at this point.
I was curious because I didn't think that it was, and that's why I was asking, is because like it's such a rogue thing that you would see with this, and so I'm gonna burn 2 here, and so after this happens, so does your game plan switch at this point? After I burn those 2, like what are you like now? Where is your mind at when I drop this 8-drop?
So, really the only thing that changed at this point is I can't spark. I have to leave an energy open at all times. Like, I have to manage my energy now. I don't have to, or I can't just not think about my energy. And I went for somewhat of a Hail Mary play here because if I could draw into the cards that I needed, I could, deal a decent amount of damage this turn. But I just had to go for it. So that's why I played the Skillless Janemba. I rarely, if ever, play that card. It usually just ends up in my energy. But I knew I was going to keep my servants on field. I wasn't going to be able to stick them long enough to utilize the Toa. So it's nice having the option of the Skillless in the deck, but it's something that usually ends up being sided out, which come in somewhat clutch in this matchup.
Yeah, it's a feel bad moment when you have to turn 2 energy sideways for a Skillless.
Exactly. But it's so I'm still thinking about this Piccolo Unison in my head. I'm not too worried about the cards on field because I know you're not going to kill me with battle damage. I have Baby Hatch in hand. I have plenty of negates. I got 3 open energy. Like, you're not killing me with battle damage. It was just a thing in my head. How am I going to kill you? Because you're still setting, I think that's 3 life. And I can't stick anything. I'm either going to have to win by dropping the Skillless repeatedly on every turn, or win by leader damage, which is really difficult.
I had a good.
I was going to say, I was confirming there that Wolfang was for the battle and not the turn.
Right. Yeah, I had to every time I played that card on Saturday, I was like, can I only do this once per turn? Is it just for the battle? Okay, I had to check it every time. But this was a turn that was terrifying for me because I knew, like I said, I was like, okay, next turn, like on my first or second attack, I know Baby Hatch is coming down, and so those Wolf Fangs really came in clutch. The leader just being able to pick up 1-drops, 1-drop extra cards before he flips is just so good. And the deck runs so many of them, and so that Wolf Fang is such a clutch card, especially against a deck like this. And so going into this turn, this is the turn. It's like, okay, I'm at 2 or 3 life here, and I know for a fact, it's like, okay, if I do not win on this turn, because I think I'm out of Wolf Fangs at this point, I don't have a lot left in the tank, and Violent Rays doesn't really do anything against you. And so because you have so many, like the 19K Janemba is something that you can just play pretty much whenever you want, and I'm not going to be able to get over like 4 attacks from those things if you have them. So so this was a really pivotal turn, and I was really trying to decide here. This is sped up, and so this was a much longer turn than what it's going to look like. But I was thinking, okay, if I can swing with lead, I thought Baby Hatch was going to come down there, and I was surprised when it didn't. And so I thought, okay, like, is that? And I was kind of scared because, like, okay, he didn't play Baby Hatch, so what in the world is going on? And so, and then another Gohan comes, and so this was such a tough turn. And you played this so well, and the fact that you were so confident really made me second guess a lot of my plays here.
And to touch on the last turn, I was really trying to dig for a ball to be able to take Janemba into Xeno and pull the 4-drop out, just to either get the draw and untap or clear at least something off of your field. Which I think you probably would have let me get the draw and untap at that point. Which a draw is never a bad thing.
Right.
But I was really trying to not play Baby Hatch as soon as possible. I was just trying to get some cards on field. Like, that's all I wanted was cards on field. And you end up kind of pressing my hand there and forcing me to play the Baby Hatch out.
Right. Yeah. That Gogeta basically just machine guns your entire board because he can attack active, and every time he attacks an active, he readies. And so it doesn't matter how many negates you have. The only negate in the game that stops him is Baby Hatch. And so I figured, I was like, okay, well, I might as well go ahead and do it. And I did end up getting the 6-drop, which was huge. And so I was like, well, I guess the only option I have here is just to pass with 4 open energy, because at this point it's just kind of a hope and a prayer.
Yeah, and if you look at my hand right now, I have 3 Bulas in hand, which are basically just a 1-drop negate at this point.
Yeah,
like,
kind of
because they're just going to get blown up. There's no point in even trying to put them on field. And it's kind of funny, we didn't mention it earlier, but there was at one point in the game where I played in a gate and I was like, what are you KOing? And you looked at me and you're like, what? You were like, do I get a choice? I was like, and like in my head, I was like, oh, no, you're good, bro, you're good. And then I like notioned at the Piccolo Unison and you're like, oh yeah, that part.
I had put the 2 giant dice over top of the auto and completely had forgotten about it. And so it's when you played that Mirachem or whatever his name is earlier. And as soon as you like said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's like the entire point of this card being in here, except for the neg. So yeah, I told everybody after that game, I was like, yeah, I think that Jimmy helped me out more than he needed to help me out here.
Yeah, that was... I should have just said nothing, because I could have at least established somewhat of a board and dealt a little bit of damage early on before you caught on.
I probably would have been a turn or 2 before I caught back on.
Think about all of the disservice that you're doing to all the trolls in the comments that won't get to point that out, and
they'll still point it out.
So I have a quick question. Does your Unison have like 10 markers on it right now?
It has 10.
The -2 has a secondary -2 to it to give yourself life.
Correct.
If there's something under your Unison.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's the cause. Yes.
So that was the big play there. Was he didn't negate when I swung into the hatch with the Gogeta, and I thought, okay, I was like, at that point, I was like, I think that's game, because I had the other 8-drop in hand, and I had to verify that you can have 2 on board, and you can. And so I just comboed the world there on that Gogeta, went up to like 70 or something, and then was able to luckily have that other 8-drop in hand and just kind of drop it down, and just deal the 2 crit. I mean, it's just so clutch, and it's, I don't know. That's like the best way for me to describe this deck, is like hoping it, like Hail Mary at 8-drop Gogeta, and keep the board clear. And fortunately, pretty bad matchup for Jimmy. Honestly, like Baby going into this is the worst matchup for Baby that I could imagine. Honestly, but I don't know that to be fact, but that's what it seems like anyway.
That Piccolo Unison, any red deck that runs that is a bad matchup for Baby. It's such a hill to get over top of.
Unison is honestly so hard to get rid of too, because it's a +2, but then also you run Wolfang Fist, and Wolfang Fist is honestly the best card in the game at defending Unisons, just because it's a -15, so your opponent will usually burn small little things to try to get into the Unison to remove it off to play their big stuff. But if you're minusing 15 on a 15,000, it just dies, and then your Unison is safe, and your opponent wasted that momentum in their turn trying to get in on it.
Yeah, and then the 5-drop Gogeta adds a marker, and then the 6-drop adds 2. So you on that turn that you play those, you add 4 markers to that Piccolo. So you go from 2 to 6 immediately. Yeah. And you draw 4 cards when you do that. So it's so good.
Yeah.
So a good game, Jimmy, man. I really enjoyed it, and I told again, thanks for helping me out on that one turn, with the Unison.
And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed the match as much as Jimmy did. And keep in mind, while Fluff does the outro, there's buttons on the screen.
It was nice to see another take on Gogeta. I feel like Matt has been really strong on Gogeta. That's kind of like the Matt is the Gogeta master, but it's really nice seeing another take from another person on it. And honestly, the Piccolo Unison is brilliant in that deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. Look at the floating videos. Maybe it's something that you haven't seen before. Let us know in the comments below if there's anything that you want to see. As always, read your cards, know your plays. Let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and Fluff out.